Welcome to today's video on SSIS interview questions and answers for both freshers and experienced candidates. What is SSIS and how does it fit into the ETL process? Answer. SSIS is a platform provided by Microsoft SQL Server for building enterprise-level data integration and data transformation solutions. It is specifically designed to perform ETL operations, which are essential for data warehousing and data migration tasks. Extract. SSIS helps in extracting data from various sources such as SQL Server, Oracle, Excel files, flat files, and other databases. Transform. It transforms the extracted data using a variety of transformations like data conversion, lookup, conditional split, and aggregation to meet business requirements. Load. Finally, SSIS loads the transformed data into a destination, such as a data warehouse, data mart, or any other data store. Explain the architecture of SSIS. What are the key components? The architecture of SSIS is based on a combination of several key components. These key components of SQL Server Integration Services are designed to facilitate the building, managing, and deployment of data integration and workflow applications. Control flow. The control flow is the main workflow of an SSIS package. It defines the order and conditions under which tasks and containers are executed within a package. Data flow. The data flow is a component of the data flow task, which is used to extract, transform, and load data. It is the heart of the ETL process in SSIS. Connection managers. Connection managers are SSIS objects that define connections to data sources and destinations. They are used to establish a link to the data source and provide the necessary information for data extraction and loading. SSIS Runtime Engine. The SSIS Runtime Engine is responsible for the execution of SSIS packages. It manages the control flow, executes tasks, manages logging and events, and coordinates package execution. Data Flow Engine. The Data Flow Engine is a part of the SSIS runtime that specifically manages the data flow tasks. It provides the infrastructure for moving and transforming data efficiently between sources and destinations. Event Handlers. Event handlers are SSIS components that allow you to define specific actions when events are raised by tasks or containers. Logging providers. Logging providers are components that facilitate the logging of events, errors, warnings, and other information during package execution. SSIS Designer. The SSIS Designer is a graphical design tool available in SQL Server Data Tools. It provides a user-friendly interface for designing, debugging, and deploying SSIS packages. Package Deployment Models. SSIS offers different models for deploying packages, primarily the Project Deployment Model and the Package Deployment Model. Parameters and Variables. Parameters and variables are used to store values that SSIS packages use at runtime. They enable dynamic behavior within packages. Script Task and Script Component. Script Task, used in control flow for custom code execution using VB.NET or C#. It allows for more complex business logic or custom actions not covered by built-in tasks. Script Component, used in data flow as a source, transformation, or destination to handle custom data processing scenarios. Describe the concept of a data warehouse and its relation to SSIS. A data warehouse is a centralized repository of integrated data from multiple sources, designed to support business intelligence and decision-making activities. It is typically organized in a subject-oriented, historical, and integrated manner. SSIS plays a vital role in building and maintaining data warehouses by extracting data. SSIS extracts data from various operational systems and sources. Transforming data. It cleanses, standardizes, and aggregates the extracted data to meet the requirements of the data warehouse. Loading data. SSIS loads the transformed data into the data warehouse, often using a dimensional modeling approach. Maintaining data. SSIS can be used to perform periodic updates and refreshes of the data warehouse to ensure data accuracy and consistency. How do you use the lookup transformation in SSIS? The lookup transformation is used to join two data sets based on a common key. It is often used to enrich data by adding information from a reference table. To use the lookup transformation, configure the input data flow. Connect the source data flow to the lookup transformation. Create a lookup cache. Specify the reference table and the common key column. Map columns. Map the columns from the input data flow to the corresponding columns in the reference table. Specify the lookup behavior. Choose whether to create a full cache or a partial cache. Handle unmatched rows. Decide how to handle rows that cannot be matched in the reference table. What are data flow tasks in SSIS? How do they differ from control flow tasks? Data flow tasks in SSIS are specialized tasks that manage the flow of data from sources to destinations, allowing for transformations along the way. They are designed to handle the extraction, transformation, and loading of data within a single task. A data flow task contains components such as sources, transformations, and destinations, which work together to process data in a pipeline. In contrast, control flow tasks are responsible for managing the overall workflow of an SSIS package. They dictate the order of execution of various tasks, including data flow tasks, and can include tasks such as executing SQL statements, sending emails, or running scripts. Control flow tasks are more about the orchestration of processes, while data flow tasks focus specifically on the movement and transformation of data. How do you design and develop ETL processes for a data warehouse? Designing and developing ETL processes for a data warehouse involves several key steps. Requirements gathering: understand the business requirements, data sources, and the type of analysis needed. Collaborate with stakeholders to identify key metrics and dimensions. Data source identification: identify and document the various data sources, including databases, flat files, APIs, and other systems from which data will be extracted. Data modeling: create a data model that defines the structure of the data warehouse, including fact and dimension tables. This helps in understanding how data will be organized and accessed. ETL tool selection: choose an appropriate ETL tool, such as SSIS, based on the project requirements, team expertise, and integration capabilities. ETL process design: design the ETL workflow, including the extraction of data from source systems, transformation rules, and loading into the data warehouse. Use SSIS data flow tasks for data movement and transformations. Implementation: develop the ETL processes using the chosen tool. This includes creating connection managers, data flow tasks, and control flow tasks to orchestrate the ETL workflow. Testing: conduct thorough testing of the ETL processes to ensure data accuracy, completeness, and performance. Validate that the data loaded into the warehouse meets the business requirements. Deployment and monitoring: deploy the ETL processes to the production environment and set up monitoring to track performance, data quality, and error handling. Documentation: document the ETL processes, including data lineage, transformation logic, and any business rules applied. This aids in maintenance and future enhancements. What is a control flow in SSIS and how is it used? A control flow is a graphical representation of the sequence of tasks and the control flow between them in an SSIS package. It defines the order in which tasks are executed and the conditions that determine task execution. Control flow tasks are used to sequence tasks: define the order in which tasks are executed. Conditional execution: execute tasks based on specific conditions using conditional statements. Looping: repeat tasks multiple times using loops. Error handling: handle errors and exceptions using error handling mechanisms like precedence constraints. How do you create a connection manager in SSIS? Answer: to create a connection manager in SSIS, follow these steps. Open SSIS Designer, launch SQL Server Data Tools and open the SSIS package where the connection manager is needed. Access the Connection Managers pane, right-click in the Connection Managers pane at the bottom of the SSIS Designer window. Add New Connection, choose New Connection from the context menu. This opens the Add SSIS Connection Manager dialog box. Select connection type, choose the type of connection manager. Click Add. Configure connection properties. 1. For an OLEDB connection manager, select the provider, specify the server name, authentication method, and database name. 2. For a flat file connection manager, specify the file path, format, column delimiters, and data types. Test the connection, click Test Connection to ensure the settings are correct and that SSIS can successfully connect to the data source. Save the connection manager, click OK to save the connection manager to the SSIS package. The created connection manager can now be used across various tasks and components within the package to connect to the specified data source. How do you handle large data volumes in SSIS? Sample answer: to handle large data volumes in SSIS, you can use partitioning and batch processing, enable parallel execution, optimize data flow buffers, minimize blocking transformations. Use bulk insert options, and optimize source and destination databases with indexing and query tuning. Or Handling large data volumes in SSIS requires efficient techniques to optimize performance and avoid resource bottlenecks. Some strategies include partitioning. Divide large data sets into smaller, manageable partitions. Bulk loading. Use bulk loading options to load data efficiently into databases. Indexing. Create appropriate indexes on target tables to improve query performance. Parallel processing. Utilize parallel execution options to distribute the workload across multiple processors. Data compression. Compress data to reduce storage requirements and improve performance. Caching. Use caching mechanisms to store frequently accessed data in memory for faster retrieval. How do you implement data cleansing in SSIS? Sample answer. Data cleansing in SSIS can be implemented using transformations such as data conversion, derived column, conditional split, lookup, and fuzzy grouping. You can also use custom scripts via the script component and integrate with data quality services for more advanced cleansing operations. Or, data cleansing is the process of identifying and correcting errors, inconsistencies, and inaccuracies in data. It is essential for ensuring data quality and reliability. Common data cleansing techniques in SSIS include data validation. Use derived columns, data conversions, and conditional splits to validate data against predefined rules. Imputation. Fill in missing values using techniques like mean, median, or mode imputation. Standardization. Convert data to a consistent format, such as standardizing dates or addresses. Deduplication. Remove duplicate records based on unique identifiers. Outlier detection. Identify and handle outliers that deviate significantly from the norm. Data quality assessment. Use data quality metrics to assess the quality of the cleansed data. How do you implement incremental data loading in SSIS? Sample answer. Incremental data loading in SSIS can be implemented by using techniques like using timestamps or change data capture to identify new or modified records since the last load. You can also use lookup transformations to detect new or updated records, or SQL queries with conditions to filter data based on change indicators. How do you handle error handling and logging in SSIS packages? Sample answer. Error handling in SSIS can be implemented using event handlers, configuring error outputs in data flow components, and using try-catch patterns in script tasks. Logging can be configured using built-in logging providers to capture and store error details and execution information. How would you integrate SSIS packages into a CI/CD pipeline? Sample answer. To integrate SSIS packages into a CI/CD pipeline, use source control systems like Git for versioning, automate builds using tools like MSBuild or DevOps pipelines, and deploy packages to environments using automated deployment tools like Azure DevOps, SSIS catalog deployment utilities, or custom scripts to handle the deployment process. Explain how you would implement a data quality check in an SSIS package. Sample answer. Data quality checks in SSIS can be implemented using transformations like conditional split to separate valid and invalid data, data conversion to enforce data types, lookup to validate data against reference datasets, and fuzzy grouping or fuzzy lookup for identifying duplicates or correcting data inconsistencies. What is the difference between OLTP and OLAP systems? How does SSIS interact with these systems? Sample answer. OLTP systems handle transactional, day-to-day operations with frequent read-write operations and normalized databases. OLAP systems support analytical queries and reporting with large volumes of read operations on denormalized, aggregated data. SSIS interacts with OLTP systems for data extraction and with OLAP systems for loading transformed data into data warehouses or cubes for reporting and analysis. How would you implement a data synchronization process between two databases using SSIS? Sample answer. Employ lookup or merge join transformations to identify new, updated, or deleted records and apply changes accordingly to synchronize data between the two databases. How would you handle a scenario where you need to load data into a partition table in SQL Server? Sample answer. Use the switch partition technique to load data into a staging table first and then switch it into the appropriate partition in the partition table. Alternatively, direct load data into specific partitions by using the check constraints on the partitioning column to guide the data into the correct partition. Or, use the merge statement or separate data flow tasks for each partition. Ensure that the data is directed to the correct partition based on the partitioning key during the ETL process. You need to extract data from a flat file, transform it, and load it into a SQL Server table. Explain the concept of a star schema and a snowflake schema. A star schema has a central fact table linked to multiple denormalized dimension tables, optimizing query performance. A snowflake schema normalizes the dimension tables into multiple related tables, reducing data redundancy but potentially increasing query complexity. Explain how SSIS handles transactions. Sample answer: SSIS handles transactions using the transaction option property on tasks and containers, which can be set to required, supported, or not supported to manage transactional behavior, ensuring all or none of the operations within a package are committed or rolled back. How do you handle slowly changing dimensions? Sample answer: SCDs occur when dimension attributes change over time. SSIS offers various techniques to handle these changes effectively. Type 1 SCD: this approach overwrites the existing dimension record with the updated values. It's suitable when the historical data is not required. Type 2 SCD: this approach creates a new dimension record for each change, preserving the historical data. It's useful when tracking changes over time is important. Type 3 SCD: this approach adds a new attribute to the dimension table to indicate the effective date range for each record. It's suitable when you need to track both current and historical data. What is a surrogate key and why is it used in data warehousing? Sample answer: a surrogate key is a unique identifier assigned to a record in a dimension table, typically an auto-increment integer, used instead of natural keys. It simplifies joins, maintains historical data integrity, and handles changes in source system keys more effectively. What is Azure Data Factory and how does it differ from SSIS? Sample answer: Azure Data Factory is a cloud-based ETL service for orchestrating data workflows and integrating data across cloud and on-premises sources. Unlike SSIS, which is on-premises and primarily used for SQL Server environments, ADF is designed for scalable cloud-based data integration with built-in support for various cloud sources and integration runtimes. Have you worked with SSIS integration runtime in Azure Data Factory? Sample answer: yes, the SSIS integration runtime in Azure Data Factory allows you to lift and shift existing SSIS packages to the cloud, enabling execution of SSIS packages in a managed, scalable environment while leveraging Azure's infrastructure. Have you used SSIS to integrate with cloud-based data sources? Sample answer: yes, SSIS can integrate with cloud-based data sources like Azure Data Lake and AWS S3 using components like the Azure Data Lake Store and Amazon S3 connectors, allowing for seamless extraction, transformation, and loading of data between on-premises and cloud environments. You are tasked with handling XML files as a data source in SSIS. How would you approach this requirement? Sample answer: use the XML source component. This component is specifically designed to extract data from XML files. Configure the source, specify the XML file path, schema, and mapping between XML elements and SSIS columns. Handle complex structures. For complex XML structures, consider using the XML task or script task with XML libraries. Optimize performance. If dealing with large XML files, explore techniques like batching and caching. What is the role of a data quality analyst in an ETL project? Sample answer: a data quality analyst is responsible for ensuring the accuracy, completeness, and consistency of data throughout the ETL process. They define data quality standards, establish criteria for data quality, such as accuracy, completeness, consistency, and timeliness. Identify data quality issues, use data profiling techniques to identify errors, inconsistencies, and anomalies. Implement data cleansing. Develop and implement data cleansing rules and procedures to address data quality issues. Monitor data quality. Continuously monitor data quality metrics to identify and resolve emerging problems. Scenario: you are tasked with migrating SSIS packages from SQL Server 2012 to SQL Server 2019. What steps would you take? Sample answer: backup packages. Ensure all SSIS packages and configurations are backed up. Upgrade SSIS packages. Open packages in SQL Server Data Tools for SQL Server 2019 and perform an upgrade. Test packages. Validate package functionality and performance in a development environment. Deploy to production. Deploy the upgraded packages to the SSIS catalog on SQL Server 2019. Monitor and troubleshoot. Monitor package execution and resolve any issues that arise. Scenario: a business user reports that a daily ETL job is running slower than usual. How would you approach diagnosing and fixing the performance issue? Sample answer: review logs, check execution logs and error messages for insights. Analyze performance metrics, use SQL Server Profiler or DMVs to identify bottlenecks. Optimize data flow, review and optimize transformations, adjust buffer settings, and use efficient data processing methods. Check indexes and queries, ensure source and destination tables are properly indexed and optimize queries. Test changes, implement and test performance improvements in a development environment before deploying. Scenario: how would you design an SSIS package to handle real-time data processing? Sample answer: use an SSIS package with a data flow task designed for real-time data processing. Implement incremental data loads, use the CDC feature if available, and configure the package to handle continuous data updates. Consider using SQL Server Agent for scheduling or a real-time streaming solution like Azure Stream Analytics if the data processing needs exceed traditional SSIS capabilities. How do you handle SQL Server deadlocks in SSIS? Sample answer: to handle SQL Server deadlocks in SSIS, implement retry logic in your SSIS packages using retry options in tasks or custom logic in script tasks. Additionally, analyze and optimize the SQL queries to reduce lock contention, ensure proper indexing, and review transaction isolation levels to minimize deadlock occurrences. What is the difference between an OLEDB command and an execute SQL task? Sample answer: both OLEDB command and execute SQL task are used to execute SQL statements within SSIS, but they have different purposes. OLEDB command, primarily used for executing SQL statements against a data source within a data flow. It's integrated into the data flow and can be used to transform and filter data. Execute SQL task, used for executing SQL statements outside of a data flow. It can be used for various tasks like creating or dropping objects, executing stored procedures, or performing administrative tasks. How do you perform performance tuning on SQL Server queries used within SSIS? Sample answer: performance tuning involves analyzing query execution plans, optimizing SQL queries, using indexes effectively, avoiding unnecessary data retrieval, and configuring SSIS components, e.g. adjusting buffer settings, to improve data flow efficiency. What are the considerations for deploying SSIS packages to a production environment? Sample answer: security. Implement appropriate security measures to protect sensitive data and prevent unauthorized access. Error handling. Implement robust error handling mechanisms to handle unexpected situations and ensure data integrity. Logging and monitoring. Implement logging and monitoring to track package execution, identify issues, and troubleshoot problems. Testing and validation. Thoroughly test packages in a production-like environment before deployment. Version control. Use version control to manage package changes and track history. Deployment automation. Consider using automation tools to simplify deployment and reduce errors. How do you integrate SSIS with Power BI for reporting purposes? Sample answer: integrate SSIS with Power BI by loading processed data into a data warehouse or staging area, then connecting Power BI to that data source for reporting. Use data flow tasks in SSIS to prepare and transform data, and ensure that Power BI is configured to refresh data from the updated data source.